In this video, we're going to move to the main page where the user is directed once they are logged in. So this page is going to be the main page where we see all the nodes that the user has created so far. So to create this page, first of all, we're going to create a new file that we're going to call main page logged in.php. Okay. And let's open it using brackets. And we're going to start by importing the whole content from the home page, because this page looks very similar to the home page. Then we're going to add some changes later on. Okay, so let's get the home page content and copy it in our new page. And let's change the title of the page to my notes. Let's save and open our new page. So that's going to be the main page, then / main page logged in.php. Okay, so at the moment our page looks very similar to the home page. So we're going to start by changing the navigation bar. Okay, so the first item is going to be profile, and then we're going to have one more item, my notes, okay, which we're going to make active. So let's go ahead and make these changes. So instead of home, we're going to have profile, okay, and we're going to add an href later on. And let's add an extra item at the end, which is going to be my notes. Okay, and now we want to make this list item active rather than that one. Okay, so let's copy the class active from there to there. Okay, so it looks better. All right, now let's move to the right hand side of the page. So rather than login, we have got logout and we have got login, logged in as username. So let's make this change. So we're going to change login to logout. Also, we don't need the data attributes. Okay. And also the href is going to change later on. Okay. And let's add the extra item, which is logged in as username. So if we save and refresh, that looks better, but the username is bold. Okay, so to make it bold, we're just going to place it inside the b tags. All right, now we're going to move to the middle of the page. Okay, so we're going to use the Bootstrap grid system to build this layout, where we're going to be using 6 columns for this content, which includes the buttons and the notes, as well as the text area and so on. Okay, and we're going to do that in medium devices. So for small devices, we're going to use the whole width of the page. Okay, so first let's empty the content of the page. Okay, so we're going to delete the Jumbotron. Okay, and then we're gonna create a container, which is going to be a div of class container. You can use a container fluid if you want to use the whole width of the page, but I'm going to go for a container for now. And then inside the container, to use the Bootstrap grid system, we are going to use a row. Okay, And then inside the row, what we would like to do, we want to use 6 columns, okay, for medium devices, and skip 3. So to do this, we're going to have a div of class column md offset 3 to skip 3 columns, okay, and then we're going to have another class which is column md6 to use 6 columns, okay, and then inside this div we're going to add another div where we're going to place the buttons, and then another div where we're going to place the notes, and also we're going to create another one where we're going to place this hidden text input, okay, or text area. So first, let's add one div for the buttons, okay. So inside this div, we're going to have all the buttons. So the first button is going to be add note. So let's give it an ID, and also let's give it a type button, and let's give it a few classes to style it. So it's going to be button, okay, and then we're going to use the button info class to give it this nice blue color. Okay, so let's save and refresh the page. So at the moment we don't see any content, and the reason why is because the container starts right there and our button at the moment is hidden behind the navigation bar. So we need to add some margin top to the container so that we can start seeing our content. So to do this, we're going to add some styling to our page. I'm just going to add a style element, and we're going to select the container using the container class, and we're going to add some margin top of 100. Okay, so let's save and refresh, and now we can see our button. Okay, so let's make the button slightly bigger by using the button large class. Okay, that looks better. And let's add the other buttons and just hide the ones that we don't want to show at the beginning. Okay, so we're going to have the edit button, we're going to have the done button, and also we're going to have the all notes button. So let's go ahead and add all these. So the second one is going to be the edit button. The ID is going to be edit, and then we're going to have the done button and ID done, and then we're going to have all notes, okay, and the ID is going to be all notes. So let's save and refresh. Okay, now we can see all our buttons there. So the button done needs to be green, okay, like that. So you're gonna give it the green class rather than the button info class. Okay. All right, that looks better. And now we're gonna make some buttons float to the right using the pull right class. Okay, so that's gonna be the done button and the edit button. Okay, so let's add the pull right class. that one, and this one. Okay, and now if we save and refresh, okay. Now let's hide all the buttons we don't want to show at the beginning. Okay, so we're going to keep only the Add Notes button and the Edit button. So we're going to go back to the Style element, and we're going to select the buttons to hide. So that's going to be all notes, and done. And we're going to give them a display property of none. Okay. Now we're going to add another div for our notepad. Okay, so we'll create this div and place a text area inside. So let's do this. So let's give it an ID, notepad, okay, and let's create a text area inside. So let's save and refresh. Now let's make the text area a little bit bigger by adding the rows attribute. And let's go for 10 rows. Okay. And now let's add some space between the buttons and the rest of the elements. So what we're going to do, we can style the div containing all the buttons. So let's give it a class. Okay. And let's add a margin bottom for this class. Okay, and let's go for 20 pixels. That looks all right. Okay. Let's increase the margin top of the container class slightly. And now we have more or less the same thing. Okay. Now we're going to style the text area. So first of all, we want the width of the text area to take the whole width of the web page. So to do this, we're gonna give it a width of 100%. So let's select the text area using the text area tag. Okay, because we have only one text area. And let's start with the width attribute, and let's set that to 100%. Okay, so that's fine. Now we want to be able to limit the size or the width of the text area to 100%. Okay, so that the user doesn't make it bigger than the width of the page. So to do this, we're going to add another attribute, and this time it's going to be the max width. Okay, which we'll set to 100% as well. Okay, and now you can see that the width of the text area now is fixed. Okay, and it's always 100%. All right. Now let's look at the font size in the final page. Okay, and let's have a look at what it is now. So you want to increase it slightly. So let's go for a font size of 16 pixels. Okay. Also, let's have a look at the line height. Okay, so let's increase it slightly to 1.5 EM. Okay, let's see how it is now. Okay, that looks okay. Now, if you look at the left border, you will see that it's quite thick. So to do this, we need to use the border left width attribute. Okay, and we're going to go for 20 pixels for now. Okay. Now we will need to change this standard or default color to this color. Okay, so let's use our color picker. Okay. And let's change the border color to this value. Okay, that looks better. And also let's change the color of the text to the same color. Okay. Also, if you look at the background color, it's not exactly white. So let's see what color we've got there. Okay. And let's set the background color to the new value. Okay. And finally, we want to add some space between the text and the borders. So let's use some padding. So let's go for a padding of 10 pixels. Okay. All right, now our text area is ready. So all we need to do now is hide it by adding its ID to the rest of the IDs that we have hidden earlier. So it's Notepad. Okay. All right, and before we continue, let's just fix this footer. So the reason why we're seeing this is because the footer has also a class container. So to avoid this, we're going to go to the div where we placed all our content there, and rather than using the container class, we're going to add an ID to its container, and we're going to select it using the ID rather than the class. Okay, so now it's fixed. And finally, we're going to add the final div, okay, which is the div containing all our notes. Let's add it right after the Notepad div. Okay, I'm going to give it an ID, notes, and let's also give it a class notes that we might use later. So for now, I'm just going to write a comment here. Okay, so we're not going to place any elements. Basically, we're going to use later on some Ajax code to retrieve these notes from the database. So we're going to have an Ajax call, okay, to a PHP file that we're going to create later. Okay. All right, so in the next video, we're going to move to the profile page.